Year one under Marcus Freeman had its ups, it definitely had its downs, but all in all, was not a terrible season by any metrics for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish last season. Now, entering 2023, expectations are again high for Marcus Freeman and this Notre Dame program. This is a team that heading into this year has a lot of talent, but the schedule is tough. However, if everything goes right, this is the team that we could see contend for a spot in the college football playoff. Are the Notre Dame Fighting Irish ready to be back in the national title, or I guess in the playoff conversation this season? Or is this a team that may need some more time to really build up to that level under Marcus Freeman? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nathan. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer. Means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. But there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else to help interact and support the channel. Whatever you guys are able to do does mean a lot to me. I apologize for having to push this back a day, but FBS Independence Day is here. We're going to upload video for all 4 independent teams today. Notre Dame is on the slate to start out first. What better independent team to do it? One of the most infamous and one of the most recognizable brands in college football. Hey, how do we do preview predictions around here? Well, we go through a roster overview, look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the Fighting Irish football schedule, and we'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So let's talk about Irish football in 2023, shall we? The quarterback room. Well, that's going to be looking a lot different this year for this Irish team, as Tyler Buckner, who was injured last year but was the starter entering last season, he is transferred over to Alabama. 651 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Definitely not a phenomenal season in an Irish uniform, but had his really good moments. And again, as I said, he's going to be part of that quarterback battle in Tuscaloosa. And then Drew Pine, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 2,021 yards on 64% completion percentage. Very, very solid starter for this team last year. He's transferred over to Arizona State. Who has come in, though? Well, you got none other than a big play ability at the quarterback position coming in. Former Wake Forest Demon Deacon, Sam Hartman. This is a phenomenal pickup from the transfer portal for this team. A 4-star rated transfer according to 24/7 Sports. He is a big play ability. He can get the ball downfield in a hurry. And his Wake Forest teams put up a lot of points. And I'm expecting a jump in the offense from Notre Dame this year because Sam Hartman is there. Very explosive playmaker and can do it with his legs as well. That's a good quarterback option for the Irish this year. All right, the running back room. Well, your second leading rusher in Logan Diggs, who had 820 yards, averaged 5 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns last year, has transferred over to LSU. But you still have a lot coming back in this running back unit. Audric Estime was your leading rusher last year, averaged almost 6 yards per carry, 920 yards and 11 touchdowns on the season last year. And then Chris Tyree is a speedy back, 444 yards, 3 touchdowns for him last season, along with 24 catches out of the backfield. You also do get a transfer coming over by way of Penn State, and that is a 3-star rated transfer. Former 4-star out of high school by the name of Devin Ford, who should be a big boost to this running back room. Wide receiver room, you do lose some pretty solid players. Lorenzo Styles, I believe, is transferred over to Ohio State, 340 yards and a touchdown for him last year. And then Braden Lenzy, who was your 4th leading receiver, 309 yards and 3 touchdowns. Styles was your 3rd leading receiver last year. However, your leading receiver among wide receivers is back. Jaden Thomas returns, had 361 yards and 3 touchdowns last season. Some other guys like Tobias Merriweather, Deion Colsey, and others come back to the room, but you get a lot of freshmen, and most notably, at least highest on the depth chart according to ourlads.com, Jaden Greathouse and Rico Flores, but there are so many other freshmen wide receivers that enter this program that could make big impacts for the Irish in 2023. In the tight end room, will you lose the best tight end in the nation from last year? And that's Michael Mayer at 809 yards, 9 touchdowns on 67 catches. That led the team in all 3 categories. But you still got Mitchell Evans and Kevin Bauman should be the featured tight ends there for this team. On the offensive line, Jarrett Patterson and Josh Lugg were 2 phenomenal players. They leave. However, you do return Joe Alt, Blake Fisher, Zeke Corral, and Andrew Kristofic. Apologies if I said any name wrong there at all. But there is your Fighting Irish offense for 2023. Look, that wide receiver room is going to be young. But Sam Hartman, a big play quarterback. There's a lot of highly recruited talent there. I think it's going to be a good offense for them. They got some good pieces in the running back room as well. Now, defensively, what can we expect from the Notre Dame team? Well, you do have a couple big losses on the defensive line here as Chris Smith is gone, as well as Isaiah Foskey. That's going to be your biggest loss on the defensive line. Had 45 tackles, which was fifth on the team, and 11 sacks last season. And Justin Adamalola is gone, was the team's sixth leading tackler, 3 sacks, 40 tackles on the season last year. So 2 huge losses on the defensive line for the Fighting Irish in Foskey, and Adamalola. But you do return guys like Howard Cross, Riley Mills, and Nana Osafo-Mensah, among others. Should be a pretty solid defensive line for Notre Dame this season. In the linebacking unit, well, Jason Adamalola will be gone out of the linebacking unit. 29 tackles and 3 sacks for him last season, tied his brother with that number in sacks. However, most of this linebacking unit does come back. J.D. Bertrand was your leading tackler last year with 82 of them, 2 sacks. Jack Kaiser had 59 tackles, 2.5 sacks from last season. And then Marist Liufau, apologies again if I said the last name wrong, 51 tackles and half a sack last year. So your 3 leading tacklers are back, as well as Jordan Botello and others that return to this linebacking unit. In the defensive back room, well, Brandon Joseph is a former Northwestern transfer that did have a pick six last year, 30 tackles. You lose him, as well as Tariq Bracy, who, again, had a pick, 39 tackles, a top 10 tackler for this team last year. But, again, some good talent returns in this secondary. DJ Brown, Cam Hart, Benjamin Morrison had 5 passes defended, which I believe led the team. It did, and 6 interceptions, which was 6 times as many picks as anyone else had on this Irish defense last year. He'll be good for them again this year. And then Xavier Watts as well returns, among some other names. Your head coach is Marcus Freeman, offensive coordinator is Gerard Parker, and your defensive coordinator is Al Golden, as we'll take a look at the Fighting Irish football schedule for 2023. Hey, any game at home is going to be a game that's underlined, and any game on the road will be in italics or the slanted text, and neutral site games are listed accordingly. Any game in green is a game I see the Fighting Irish being able to win pretty easily. Any game in yellow is, hey, the other team's going to put up a fight, or maybe it's a very close back and forth style game, but the Irish will still walk away with a win, and red, of course, is a loss. So without further ado, week 0 in Ireland, where Nebraska Northwestern played last year, will be Navy versus Notre Dame. Should be a pretty solid contest, as I think Navy is a team that is going to be improved in the American Athletic Conference this year. That conference has got a couple of new teams coming in to the mix there as well. Hey, that's the first group of 5 conference we're going to be doing, so spoiler alert there. But Notre Dame has too much talent here for the Navy midshipmen. This is the team here in Navy that I just don't think going to be able to keep up with Notre Dame offensively, defensively. I think this Notre Dame defense, while they did lose some key contributors, returns a lot of great talent, and I think that offense finds some explosiveness with Sam Hartman at the helm. While Navy does have the ability to make it close, maybe this is the game you highlight in green as well. But I think Notre Dame is going to roll in a week 0 win against the Navy midshipmen, be able to get that win, and then they should beat Tennessee State in week 1. No questions asked there. So moving on here, their third game of the year in week 2 on the road against NC State. Now, this is going to be a tricky game for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, as NC State, you do lose Devin Leary, but Brennan Armstrong comes over from that Virginia program that is sort of in a downward spiral right now with everything going on in that program. And then Dave Doran's group on defense did lose a lot of talent. However, I believe they have some solid returning pieces. There is some good talent transferring in, and that's a team that knows how to get an extra win or two. They play very, very physical, but I think Notre Dame is just going to be a little bit too much. I think their defense is going to play better here, especially with NC State needing to try to find some things early on in the season, and I think Notre Dame's offense will be a little too much here as well. So the NC State Wolfpack will go down as the Irish start 3-0. Hey, we'll make that 4-0, as the Chippewas of Central Michigan do not believe will be up to standard either. So then it's the big one, or I guess one of the big ones on this Notre Dame schedule, but the big one in week 4, Notre Dame and Ohio State. This game kicked off the college football season last year in week 1, primetime game. Should be another primetime game this year. If not, still going to be a very interesting contest to go and watch. Notre Dame and and Ohio State, two of the biggest brands going head-to-head, and I am picking the Buckeyes to win this one. Here is why. The Buckeyes have one of the best skill groupings when you combine running back, wide receiver, tight end, probably the best unit in the entire nation. They definitely have the best wide receiver unit, and even though C.J. Stroud leaves at quarterback, I believe there are too many weapons on that Ohio State offense, and I think Kyle McCord will play good enough football to lead that Ohio State offense to still be one of the best in the country. Oh, and that defense under Jim Knowles, I think going to take another big jump here in year two. Ohio State will be too much, especially offensively. The defense makes some plays, and the Buckeyes come into South Bend and hand the Irish their first loss of 2023. Here are a couple road games that I think Duke is going to win, so I'll give my prediction for the next two games, but you can't underestimate these two teams. Duke is a team that, again, I think Notre Dame is going to win because of the lack of depth in the defensive back seven for Duke, but that offense in Duke could give this Notre Dame defense some problems, especially its Notre Dame defense with some questions entering this season. However, I do believe they have solid talent to stop this Duke offense that I think is going to be really good. Riley Leonard has got a lot of great returning pieces, but I think Notre Dame's defense steps up to the task, and Sam Hartman is going to be able to make the lack of depth in that back seven pay with his huge arm. And then I think they're going to win on the road at Louisville, but do not sleep on Jeff Brom's Cardinals. Yes, you heard me right. Jeff Brom, not Scott Satterfield. He has come in to be that head coach, has brought a familiar face over. Jack Plummer was a former quarterback under his watch at the in West Lafayette at Purdue, bringing in a ton of very talented transfers there to that program. That's going to be a stellar Louisville team to watch. The schedule sets up nicely for them. However, this game, in my opinion, does not. I think Notre Dame, again, a little too much defensively this time. And again, offensively, I think Sam Hartman can make some plays. And Notre Dame goes on the road and win. And I think they ride that momentum to a win over USC. Now, I fully understand what that Trojan offense was able to do to this Fighting Irish defense last year. It was not good for this Fighting Irish defense last season. However, I believe that defense makes some improvements this season. You get this game at home in South Bend. And I do believe that you have more explosive options, again, as I've said multiple times, with Sam Hartman at the quarterback position, and I think some of the young wide receivers have been able to find their stride here. I believe Notre Dame is going to get some momentum moving forward, and I think that offense might be a little too much for that USC defense that, well, still has some stuff to prove, even though they did add a lot of depth over there. I think Notre Dame pulls off the upset against the USC Trojans here. Before they get their first bye week of the season, they should be able to beat Pitt. Phil Jurkovec is coming in at quarterback, yes, but Pitt does lose a lot of key contributors on the defensive side of the football. That being said, the offense, again, could give this Irish defense some problems, but I really don't see the Irish having many problems with the Pitt Panthers this season. Now, on the road against Clemson, another big one, much like Ohio State and USC, on this Notre Dame schedule, and I do think they drop this game right there to the Clemson Tigers. Defensively, I think it'll be a little bit too much. Now, if you want to see something going for the Irish in that game, well, Wake Forest almost beat Clemson last year, and who was that quarterback? Oh yeah, that's right, Sam Hartman. He could definitely do it again. He could definitely shred that Clemson defense. Again, it's a very young group of wide receivers, but I think it's going to be a good young group of wide receivers. I just think Clemson's defense is going to be a little too much. That offense I think is going to be a lot better from where it was last season, and Clemson going to be able to win. Speaking of Wake Forest, Sam Hartman's former club is on Notre Dame's schedule this year. Now, if there were not a bye week in between Clemson and Wake Forest, I would say watch out because Mitch Griffiths at quarterback has a lot of great weapons, but I do believe Notre Dame will be too much, and after that week of rest coming off what could be an emotional Clemson game, I think they'll get that win. And I don't have to explain this one. Stanford projects as one of the worst teams in Power 5. I think the Irish will easily be able to roll over the Stanford Cardinal, which leads me to a record of 10-2, which I think is a pretty good year considering the difficulty of the schedule. A lot of difficult road games. There are even some very tricky home games. Ohio State, USC for this Fighting Irish team. But I believe 10-2 will be that record for Notre Dame at the end of the season. Again, I think this team has the pieces to be a national title contender, but the schedule may prevent them from doing so. That's my thoughts on Notre Dame. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.